Welcome to the Besties in the Books podcast. I'm Liz.
And I'm Ashley.
And today we're going to be going over Crescent City 2, House of Sky and Breath. Pretty hunt on the cover, you know.
Or is it?
Or is it? I mean, I
There's
guess
always
we don't
conspiracies
really ever
over
know.
the cover people, I feel like.
Just right into it. My favorite so far of the series. But we'll see where that goes after this.
I can't wait to find out why that is your favorite so far.
Yeah, I mean...
Because it's all about hunt, man.
Yeah, that's like literally the whole answer. Yeah. So, anyways, we do want to make sure to just let you guys know that first 15 minutes of our podcast are always spoiler free. So even though we're talking about a specific book, if you haven't read it yet and you just want to be along for the ride for a little bit, that's fine. We'll give you guys the heads up when it's time to exit and save it for later. So, yeah, I think that about covers it. That's it. That's all we need to talk about.
I was gonna say thanks for tuning in. Bye, guys. No, just kidding. Just kidding. No, so, okay. Wherever you're listening to us, hey, thanks for listening, first of all. Thanks for taking time out of your day and your book to listen to us, because I know what a big choice that was. Thank you. So go ahead and subscribe or follow us wherever you are listening to your podcast. If you want to watch this video playback of us and just for some extra silliness, I don't know, go ahead and follow us and subscribe to us on YouTube, which I also love because you can comment with us along there. You can correct us when we get the names wrong.
Yeah.
We're all open.
Answer the questions. We really don't know what we're talking about. So if you guys could just,
just leave it away, that'd be great. No, this is great. Like you talked about, if you missed the last, we did obviously Crescent City 1, House of blank, Earth and Blood. There's so many houses. We already went over that one. So in case you want to check that out, we'll always have those linked where you can check them out on our channel. But we're going to be going into 2, and we are not going to be here like with our notebooks and critiques and going through everything line by line. We're very much like a Spark Notes version, hang out, like gotta talk about some of this stuff and kind of get it out type of podcast where we just kind of shoot the breeze and have some silliness and talk about books and just vibe, man.
Yeah. But you know, it's okay. It's okay to feel strongly passionate about things too.
And I do.
Yeah.
Oh, and I do. Yeah. But in like a really weirdly, like my energy is put into really weird things very strongly.
Same.
So it really comes with the conspiracies. Like those are the things that I feel really strongly about.
There.
We'll get there. We'll do some at the end of this because obviously so many things come out at the end.
Yes.
And we'll have to do specific episodes later on. So another reason to subscribe and follow to hear our whack job conspiracies.
At Besties and the Books podcast.
Yeah, and that's
everywhere.
So if you want some extended content, make sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Besties in the Books podcast. TikTok doesn't have the podcast, but just search Besties in the Books and you'll find us.
Yeah.
You'll know when you see us.
You'll know it's us.
Or listen. You'll know. You'll feel the vibes.
Do you know our voices yet? Do you?
This is like episode 4/5 already.
Yeah, crazy.
Something like that. So thank you guys.
It's been fun. It's been fun. Goodbye. No, I'm just
kidding. So we're having so much fun. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We're having a great time.
Yeah. Okay, so it's time for our faves and fails of the week. Ooh. Okay, so we decided it'd be fun sometimes to theme these.
Yeah.
So this time we're going to be doing our favorite book of last year, 2023. And then our biggest fail book.
Yeah.
Read, whatever, of 2023.
Sounds good.
Do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
We're ready.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, so I like to always start negative and then get positive. So I leave on a positive note.
I like it.
My biggest fail, and anytime we talk about especially books that we didn't like, just like when we talk about books we loved, you might not love, people listening might not love the book we were talking about. And we might say how much we didn't like something, and we're going to make a joke of it, and we're going to be very sarcastic. And if you love it, please don't take any offense. There's a billion books in the world, and we are all going to take what we will, and all have different opinions and thoughts. So I'm going to say that because this book is very well loved, and it was very, 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 very hyped. There's a Netflix series about it. we have a book club, and it's what the book club started with, actually.
Yeah, it was the first
so
vote.
It's a funny way to start. And it was a major fail for me. I was very disappointed. Also, a lot of it, I think, probably is because of how hyped it was in the community, in my head. So I had a lot of expectations, especially because the villain and everything, and the Netflix series is the jam. Yeah. So it is Shadow and Bone. I gotta find a way to talk about that every episode. No, not every episode. No, every now and then. Because I was just so disappointed. And not only Shadow and Bone, because that's always the first book. Yeah. And I'm like, okay.
That's the whole trilogy.
It was slow, though. It was just too slow for me. And it's also coming from the world of Sarah Maas, which is hard to, live up to. Yeah. But when we continued on the next month, we went ahead and just decided the vote went that everybody was ready to read second and third. So we read 2 books for the book club in that month. Yeah. And it just got worse and worse. Yeah. Book 2 shouldn't have been a thing. Nothing happened. And then book 3, it was just so disappointing. And the villain's not for everyone, but the Darkling, justice for the Darkling. It was so built up that he would be the love interest, and this was a messed up town, you know? Yeah. So I guess I don't know if that's probably spoilery. Sorry, but I mean, you should know that if you're gonna go into it seeing the Netflix things about the Darkling, it doesn't happen. Yeah. Stop trying. I'm not gonna tell you who she ends up with, but I was so disappointed. So that was my book fail. Yeah. But I'm happy that we did it. I gotta get some of those under my belt. You're not going to love them all. No. But that was my fail. And then my fave has to go to credit where credit is due because it was life-changing. Mm-hmm. Was it my favorite overall read individually? Okay. No. But it was my favorite for what it did to my life. Yeah. Aww. Yeah. It sounds so dramatic. And it was what Liz recommended. And I think why so many of us are here. Mm-hmm. And that's A Court of Thorns and Roses. That has to be that will always have a place in my heart now because it made this hyperfixation happen. And I'm so obsessed and I love it. And I can talk about it all day. And that has to be my fave. So thank you for that. Thank you for introducing me to this Mrs. magical Sarah world. J. Maas. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. And whoever introduced it to you, thank you to them. And
she knows who she is. Hopefully she's watching, listening. Yeah.
And if you haven't read A Court of Thorns and Roses yet,
do it.
Get that book out, baby. Do it. Just go to the library, grab it on your Kindle, whatever, wherever you want to read it.
I don't care if you don't like fantasy and you don't like give fairies, it a shot. You don't have any idea. Just try it out.
Try it out. Just try it out. It might be 70% in is where crazy stuff happens. Yeah. So just know that.
Stick with it.
Hold out. So it's not my favorite book of the series. That's why I say.
Yeah, me neither.
But it has a special place in my heart.
Yeah. Same. Yeah. Same.
So there we go. Your faves and fails.
So my biggest fail, I actually, after thinking about this, I have 2 biggest fails from last year that are tied for failures. And so they both need to get the credit they deserve as failures. And again, this is all in jest, okay? Yes. So it's I'm sure there's plenty of books I like that you guys won't like. So it's fine. You can razz me about it all day. Okay, so I really, really despised Court of the Vampire Queen. Yeah. A lot. It was terrible. There was just no plot. It just wasn't good.
It was hard to get through.
Yeah, that was a book club. And it was long. It was long.
It was way too long for what it was.
Yeah, it could have been a novella easily.
I probably wouldn't have felt so negative about it if it was smaller.
Yeah. And that was a vote for book club. So, that's what I love about book club too, is that it gets me to read things I wouldn't normally read, which I think is great since we do a vote, but that one just was not it. Yeah. And it won by a landslide, too, which I think is kind of funny. So I think it's just because, sometimes you're in the mood for vampire smut. And it could go either way. Sometimes it could be really good. Yeah. So we had high hopes. It wasn't good. It is tied, though, for me with Flock, which is part 1 of the Ravenhood trilogy. And everyone's obsessed with those books. And it was the worst. Ugh. The MMC was like every gross guy I dated in college. It wasn't good vibes.
Got lots of icks the whole time.
So it was just ick central. Yeah. Yeah, ick central. So those are those 2 were tied for the worst fails for me of 2023. And then I think that I would have to say that my favorite was the tandem read of Throne of Glass. Ugh. Yeah, I didn't read KOA, Kingdom of Ash until January, so that's technically on 2024's reads. I think that was my last read of 2023 was the tandem. So Tower of Dawn and Empire Storms.
That was so good.
And I counted as one book because I did the tandem.
Yeah.
And it was life-changingly good. So, obsessed. Tower of Dawn gets a lot of hate because it's quote-unquote Kale's book, but I loved
it. Was so necessary. It was so necessary. You gotta do it.
I loved it. I would not have changed the way I read them.
You literally can't skip it. People say that they don't want to skip it. It's like you literally can't.
No, it's also
But that's
so
why
good.
the tandem read is so good and helpful if you don't love Kale as a character.
Because it goes back and forth.
You're constantly going back. So if you don't like him and you have to read the standalone book, that's really long. But it's not hard for that long. Like, you start seeing what you need to see.
See, I felt like Kale's character arc was so good.
Yeah,
that
and necessary.
And very
He's a
necessary.
human.
Yeah,
so
exactly. He is literally a human.
Yeah, we don't want to give anything else out.
Yeah.
So,
but it was great. That was definitely my favorite book. 5 stars, 5 stars, a million stars of last year.
A million stars.
A million stars.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really?
So the first part, anytime we're doing a podcast where we're talking about a specific book, during our spoiler-free section, we'll give you just a basic star review, just so that you guys can know right out of the gate what we thought about it. So for me, HOSAB is like a 5-star read. Like, no questions asked. If I could give a book 10 stars, this book would have 10 stars. This might be... Like, my husband asked me, what is your favorite book of all time? Like, this would be up there for sure. Like, I don't know that I could ever pick one, right? Like, that's kind of crazy. But it would definitely be up there for me. I just love it so much. So we also like to talk about who it's good for.
Yeah.
This is really similar to who I would suggest it for House of Earth and Blood. Yeah. It's a little bit slower paced than House of Earth and Blood. We'll get into that later. So I would say if you are into... political scheming, that kind of like, it's not that it's not fantasy, but it definitely has more of those like almost Game of Thrones-y type elements.
Yeah.
Of, like conspiracy, like political backstabbing, like that kind of stuff. If you're into that, which I totally am, I think that House of Sky and Breath will like speak to you on those levels. So I feel like that's who it would be good for. People who enjoy that kind of type of fantasy.
Yeah.
And then one critique is that I do think that it's slower.
Yeah.
So that would be my critique. Not necessarily, it didn't make me like it any less because I feel like I was really into it. Like, I could delve into, like I said, like those political schemes all day long. That's my jam, but that's not for everybody. Some people like a lot of consistent like action, and I feel like this book is not as much as the first one is.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. And like you said, a lot of character building.
A lot of character building, which again,
like that.
I love.
Yeah.
I'm into that, especially when it all
a lot of different point of views
around
changing. Where the first book's a lot of Bryce, this one's a lot of different point of views.
Yeah, a lot.
So some people get overwhelmed by that. Some people like it. So it just depends.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what would you say?
It's 5 stars. Okay. I didn't like it as much as the first one overall, but I still loved it.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? Like, I didn't not like it. Like, it was still really good. It's still very necessary. And same thing, who it would be good for. So ditto. And also for anybody that wants to have their minds blown.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. It has one of the best endings. I always say it has one of the best endings of any book that I've ever read.
Yeah, it's just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I mean, so I read these books before I was on Bookstagram, before I really had a bookish community to talk to about it. I had one client who had read them as far as I knew, and I didn't know that any of my friends had read them.
Yeah.
And so I remember finishing HOSAB and just staring.
Yeah.
Like literally just staring out into the void.
Yeah.
For like 10 minutes and just like letting it sink in. And then I was so like just taken aback by, I mean, you never see it coming, right?
No.
Ever. And then I like relay the whole thing to my husband, right? I tell him everything. He doesn't read like anything other than like some nonfiction stuff, audiobooks, like, it's not his thing at all.
Yeah.
He has no idea who these people are.
Right over his head.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, to his credit, he listened to it, but it's just not satisfying when I'm like, no, you don't understand. And he's like, I really don't understand.
Like, seriously, though, please help. SOS.
Yeah.
What is my wife saying?
So, yes, one of the best endings, if not the best ending of a book I think I've read ever.
And I'll talk about mine when we get to the end.
Okay.
My reaction to the ending. Because, woo, what a ride. So I will say, if you are, wanting to watch the spoiler-free portion to try to decide if this book is for you, I would say, I just like to help with everything because it's just so much information.
It's a lot.
It's so much information. Like, ease your toes into it. That sounded weird. Like, ease your toes. Ease yourself into it.
Wait, hold on. We've come full circle. Hunt has a thing for toes.
Ew, what?
You don't know that?
No, sorry, not ew. Because, like, everybody has their own things.
Like,
no, I'm not going to yuck
anybody
yums or whatever. But, like, I don't have a thing for
toes
at all.
You don't remember that? I mean, I don't either. But, like, you don't remember? He totally makes a thing out of it.
Oh, wow. All right.
So, there you go. Dip your toes on it.
Okay, hunty. So, just to help you with, like, just her world and her style of writing, because everybody everybody critiques Crescent City of being so much information. Just start with, what one of her other series, like, start with the Court of Thorns and Roses series, just start with that and then come back to Crescent City,
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, just to help with everything.
Yeah.
And, the vibes and all that.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I read ACOTAR first, and then I read Crescent City immediately following, and then a while later, I read Throne of Glass.
Yeah.
And I was really happy reading it in that order, too.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
But I'm glad I read ACOTAR first, just because I feel like, unless you, like, I don't know, it's just a lot to take in.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that would be our recommendation.
Perfect. Cool.
So there's that. Yeah. And then my one critique is, for me, it was difficult, like, getting back in the flow with how, like, immediately crazy the first book was. And it wasn't like that for Sky and Breath, the second book. No. So it took some time to, like, warm back up, and because I'm binge reading both of these in a week, it's like, okay, wait, but everything was like crazy, and then it's like, okay, now we're kind of starting over, we're slowing down, and you have to kind of rev back up your engines, but then it's crazy again, like we just talked about at length. Yeah. So that's our spoiler-free, what you're getting into
assessment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so at this point, we're definitely going to get into the spoiler portion.
So thank you so much for tuning in if you have to go.
Yeah. But if you have to go, we get it.
Save our
Here's your
video
warning.
Listen for later.
Your 5-minute. No, I'm just kidding. Your 2-second warning.
We'll wait here in complete silence for 5 minutes to let everybody have time to leave.
Take a moment of silence for HOSAB.
They're like, oh my gosh,
5 minutes.
5 minutes. Don't go away. Don't click out. We'll know.
Yeah. Anyway, now if you're still here, it's your fault.
It's your fault. You know what you signed up for. You listened to the first 11 minutes.
So, okay. I will say, okay, so to get into the spoiler version or portion, whatever you want to call it. So it does start off pretty crazy.
Well, remind me.
The very beginning. Yeah. So I just reread it. So it's fresh in my mind,
I read it
but not
like
really.
6 months ago for the first time. So I feel like most of it's there, but there's like some stuff that isn't.
So it kicks off immediately with Sophie's story.
Yeah.
And the resistance, and then the Hind drowning her.
Yeah.
So to me...
Okay, I guess that would be pretty crazy.
Yeah, so it's crazy. I mean, because it's literally the first chapter.
I guess it's because it's new characters right away, and I'm ready to just, like, get back into what happened with Bryce and
you're
Hunt.
Like, who are these people? Yeah. Like, what is this? What does it mean?
People? Yeah. Enter Patrick, like, looking at under his rock on SpongeBob. Who are you people?
But yeah, that's kind of how it feels, because you're unsure of who they are. Yeah. But obviously, you know it's going to be super duper important. Yeah. Yeah. So I will say, it starts off with a bang, but then it gets into, it's almost like, I'm like, if you've read Throne of Glass, you kind of know. It's like all these separate plot lines that are going to converge.
And characters.
Point
of views.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot of different points of view. So we've got like Sophie and the Resistance, and then her little brother.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Thunderbirds.
Yes. Then you have Therion and his plot.
The underwater guy.
Yeah. The merman.
The merman.
I love Therion. He's
Water
great.
is the essence of moisture. Moisture is the essence of wetness.
Yeah, totally. Totally. But yeah.
They know the reference.
Yeah. So you've got that plot line going on with, like, him being, like, betrothed to, like, the Sea Queen's daughter.
Yeah.
And him not being into it. He always spends all of his time on the surface. Again, it's very, like in the episode House of Earth and Blood, we were talking about how the second time around, I read it kind of like a mystery, like, CSI type of situation.
Yeah.
That's exactly this, too, because Therion is, like, the head of intelligence.
Yeah.
For, like, the underwater mer people. I can't remember exactly. But yeah, that's what he does. So that's also has very, like, strong detective vibes. But yeah, so you've got that kind of storyline going on. Then you have, like, the side plot with, like, Ethan getting kicked out of the wolf pack.
Yeah, for helping. Some of the houses that weren't his own in the last book during when hell was breaking loose. Or allegedly hell, I don't know.
Yeah. So he helped Bryce and helped the humans, and so he gets kicked out.
Yeah.
So then they drop him on Bryce and Hunt's doorstep. And then I liked that character arc because it's like you weren't really supposed to like Ethan very much because he was kind of a dick after, like, you know, Connor died or whatever.
Yeah.
Which I get it because he was going through a lot, but then at the same time we weren't really supposed to like him.
Yeah.
So we kind of come around and learn more about his character, which I appreciated.
Yeah.
So we got that, but then that breaks off and goes into that crazy tangent of him trying to, like, contact Connor through the Mystics.
Oh, yeah. Whew, yeah.
So that was, like, this whole other thing that's going on. And then he finds out that the Mystic that he, like, helps escape is an alpha.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it's all freaking crazy.
And another thing.
I know. It's so crazy.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's that going on. Then there's, like, this is what I mean, guys. Like, just stick with us for a second.
Well, they know. They've read it.
Yeah,
so this is a real nice refresher.
If you haven't read it, then
we'll all
don't be
spiral
scared.
together.
Yeah.
We'll all spiral in this
Down
toilet
the toilet
together.
We'll explain that someday, guys.
And then this, and then this, and then this.
Yeah. Well, because then Rune gets, you know, sucked into basically helping the Resistance.
Yeah.
Because he can read, or, like, not read minds, but, like, he's got the gift of, like, talking into other people's minds. What is that called? I can't remember.
I don't know.
I don't know what you would call it. But basically he can, like, talk to you. Like, I'd be able to talk to you without moving my mouth. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Wavelengths.
Yeah.
No, I don't remember what the word is.
Yeah, but they're like, oh, we can use that.
Like telepathy.
Yeah.
Just not necessarily both ways, but they utilize it both ways with the crystal.
Yeah, or without the crystal, he finds out he can communicate with Day without the crystal.
Yeah.
So you've got that kind of going on here, like this, like, you know, blooming romance.
Yeah.
/ you know, forbidden.
Because he's kind of, like, resistant
love.
to it, and then, like, well, this chick's hot.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
sure. And then he kind of hyper focuses on that a little bit, but also is helping them and starting to realize he wants to help and get in that mess.
Yeah. So that's the other thing. It's like they're basically all just trying to thwart. I mean, it's kind of like twofold because it's like they're trying to, like, thwart the Asteri, but then they're also trying to essentially almost, like, cut off. What's her name? Pippa?
Oh, yeah.
Spestos. She's, like, the crazy
She's the one that just wants
Resistance.
to remove anybody not human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she's, like, a fanatic.
Yeah.
So it's, like, twofold because they don't want the Asteri to win, but they also are like, oh my god, the leader of the Resistance is cuckoo. So we also have to, like, do something about that.
Yeah.
So there's all that going on. So, yeah, day and night, they're, like, conspiring, you know, they're the way of communicating or whatever, like, through mind things.
Yeah.
and then you also have, like, Hypaxia who's like kind of befriending Bryce, and they, like, killed that demon together. Yeah. So I feel like there's just so many characters and so many, I don't even want to say plot lines necessarily, but kind of. It's
like because they all lead to one essential type of ending. Like they're all working together, but on different amounts of struggling through that, how much they're going to help and risk and what they need to do to help. Like Therion wasn't really fully helping right away necessarily, or I guess he was.
Yeah. Oh, and we didn't even talk about Cormac.
Yeah, there's Cormac, who's her betrothed.
Yeah, so that's a whole nother thing, is like, then they find out
the Cormac
he's part
was
of
in the
resistance.
first book that we didn't even talk about, right? Isn't he introduced in the first book?
I honestly don't remember where it cuts off, because I read them back to back both times.
Yeah, same. So, well, anyways, he's betrothed, there. And then they found out he's actually trying to help, which is like, no way, because he's such a douche.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't really bother me, honestly,
at first, he's very alpha fae, or whatever they call him. Yeah, like, you're going to marry me, but you're also my cousin.
Yeah, that was weird.
Like, come on.
I mean, but is it?
I mean,
is it for a fantasy book?
It's weird.
Not really. I feel like in fantasy books, it's kind of like, hopefully they're twice removed, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so we didn't even talk about that. So yeah, we have the whole like Cormac situation. And I feel like it's almost like all these different, it's like everyone has basically decided they're going to work in the rebellion in some capacity.
Yeah.
Bryce pretty much gets them all into this because she wants to find Sophie's little brother.
Well, she wanted to continue Danica's cause, like after especially everything happened.
Yeah.
Right? So she knows she's doing that for a reason. So she's continuing on. Almost like a way of letting Danica live in a way. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm going to continue. This must have been important. Like, things are going on. We need to take down the Astari. So this must be important.
But I feel like what gets them sucked in, though, is like she can't let it go, like with the little brother.
Yeah.
Like, she's so, I can't remember his name. I'm like blanking out on it right now. But basically, like, she's like, we have to find him. We have to help him. He's just a little boy who's like stuck in the crossfires of like this crazy situation, but he has these Thunderbird or what, that's what it's called, right? Mm-hmm. Like powers. And so either he's going to get killed or he's going to get stolen and used.
Yeah, which will be bad.
Yeah. And so I feel like that was her main motivation. And Hunt was like, I don't know.
Well, because they're told to like lay low. Like they weren't going to persecute them. And that's what we were kind of talking about earlier today, is how Hypaxia just kind of like, and Hunt just kind of like, okay, you killed Sandriel in the last book, but like we're just going to act like that never happened. To me, my theory is it's just propaganda. Like they don't want to cause more questions with the community since everything was live broadcasted. They saw Bryce and Hunt save everybody. So then you can't okay, but they're dead. Like we killed him. We executed them because he killed them, you know, and Hypaxia is a queen. So I think it was just easier for them to be like, okay, we'll make a deal with you. Mm-hmm. You will be cool if you be cool.
Well, and I mean, there's the other layer too, that they would have had to admit that Micah was essentially trying to overtake them also. And it was happening right beneath their noses.
So they can't admit to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a political game, like a political choice. And obviously with how crazy things are, though, they're not going to settle and be fine. But that's what was hard about, I think, that part of the book is when they're trying to, like, have a normal life.
Yeah, see, I loved that. I was
like... it's sweet, but, like, okay, let's go.
Well, and we finally, for anyone interested, we finally get to the spicy parts.
Yeah, yeah.
So, book 1, very low on spice level. Yeah, book 2 is still, like, I mean, if you're a romance reader, it's still fairly mild in the romance area. But, like, it's good, for sure. Like, you'll like it if you're a Bryce and Hunt fan.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you're into Rune, you get a little bit of spice in Rune too, which is cool for those of us who don't view him like a younger brother, like I do. But yeah, I feel like most of it is centralized around finding this boy, which once they do find him, they realize he doesn't even have any powers.
Yeah.
So then Bryce ships him off to go live with her parents and adopts him, which I thought was a cute,
it was very cute
thing, you know? Like, it was a nice little, like, tie-up to that, like, part of the story.
Yeah.
Obviously, we find out that Cormac and Sophie were together, and that's, like, a big part of why he was so invested in this situation.
Yeah.
Is obviously devastated when they find out that she's for sure dead.
Yeah.
So that kind of gets, like, tied up as well. I feel like, obviously, we don't know exactly where things are going with, like, Ethan and that storyline with, like, the mystic that he kind of adopted.
It stole. It leaves it off like that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And then, like, the dragon
and the 3 fairies or three.
They're like La Habras.
Yeah,
La Habra. They're like the fire sprites.
Yeah, fire sprites. That's what they're called. Yeah, so he basically busts them all out. Yeah. So that's kind of like now we have even more characters.
Yeah.
That we
just
don't
in case it wasn't enough.
Yeah, that we're not really sure.
And Hypaxia is not really ever like tied up. Loose, no. Like it's her ends are always loose. Like she's always a character left open-ended.
Yes.
So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. It'll be interesting to see where Celestina's character goes, because that was all very confusing. Like, is she part of it? Is she not? She's definitely better than Micah, but is she just feeding them information? So...
Well, yeah, because they said that she sold them out by basically telling the Asteri that...
Hunt came and grabbed his stuff.
Hunt came and grabbed his stuff, and like they were obviously planning something.
Yeah.
But it's like, is this part of a bigger game that she's playing? Because obviously we know she's with Hypaxia. Yeah. And Hypaxia freed Hunt.
Yeah. So it's weird.
So what does that mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like we have
because we find out that they're lovers.
Yeah,
and she doesn't want to be married to this forced marriage that she's in between different royal houses.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or governorships or whatever that is. Yeah. So it's all really wild.
Well, and you kind of have to also remember, because you also have the Hind, who obviously we find out is Day.
Yeah.
That was a great twist.
Who was surprised by that? Let me know. Were you surprised?
I don't remember.
I was not surprised. I mean, obviously, that was, because the second read you knew. I wasn't surprised. Like, I figured it. Alex should rewind. I wasn't surprised after that night they were supposed to meet, where they set up, like, meet me by the fountain or whatever, and then she does show up, but she shows up with the other guy or something like that, like one of the Hound or something, I think. But, like, I was having a feeling, I was like, whoa, like, is it going to be one of those people?
Yeah.
You know, because it's, like, always who you don't expect. And it was.
Yeah.
So, and then he didn't figure it out. But I just think he, like, he freaked out when he found out it was her.
Yeah.
But it's
like Lydia.
Yeah.
I do. I do like her.
You got to do what you got to do in this world.
Here's the thing. If you like Hunt and you don't like Lydia, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, they're the same character, essentially. Except, like, he's proved he's tried to go against the Resistance before. Yeah, like, we don't know her backstory necessarily.
Yeah, she's obviously covertly doing it. Yeah, but she's obviously.
But everybody is. Look at Cormac. Look at everybody so far. That's a part of the rebellion. Is you have a front.
Yeah,
you're a mole.
You have to.
You have to
survive.
You wouldn't be helpful because you'd be dead.
Exactly.
So I mean, he's a little harsh on her with that for sure, and but
I did like that reveal. I thought that it was.
I liked the reveal. I liked it. I just was like, I knew it. Why didn't you Rune, whatever.
Well, then I liked how, they all, like, towards the end, they're all working together and they blow up all the mech suits. Yeah. And, like, that was really cool.
Those mech suits are crazy, man.
Yeah.
Powered by magic and just...
Yeah, that was super neat. I mean, obviously it was sad because Cormac dies.
Yeah.
I felt like he was a good character to kill off in that situation. Yeah. Because it's like we knew enough about him, but it wasn't like it wasn't too devastating, but it was like a good balance.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Like you miss him because you're like, oh, that character could have gone somewhere.
Yeah.
But you weren't like so invested in him that it was like a devastating end or whatever.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So then basically you find out that the numbers that were etched onto Sophie's arm was it like the numbers on the door in the comitium? I don't remember what it was, but it was like something like the numbers matched like where Danica wanted them to find the information in the room at the Asteri's place to crack the code like to like this whole big
essentially.
thing.
Yeah, underground like storage rooms.
Yeah. I picture just like a big, for anyone who watched Supernatural, I picture like what that big room looked like, where they kept all the books, but it like wasn't a library. It was like where your fate was determined. I think it was. I watched it a long time ago, but that's pretty much like what I picture. Just a big like sterile.
Yeah, sterile environments.
Yeah, with just a bunch of old books in there and like computer. I don't know. Like that's what I pictured. Yeah. So basically, it all converges right with them figuring out how to infiltrate this place where the Asteri
it's for, like the lines of energy. Well, even before all that, they go to the bone quarter and have all that crazy stuff happen. The Reapers try to kill her before that because Ethan's trying to find his brother.
That's a weird side tangent.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
But that's huge because that actually helped them too with, like, they already kind of knew something was going on with the First Light because the Underking was telling them that they eat the Underlight, because everybody keeps confessing everything right before they think they're going to kill them, and then they don't, and they get away with the information.
So you find out that they're basically used for first and second light.
During the drop, you release, well, they don't know about the drop being released and their magic, being released a little bit, but they know that the second light, the Underking and his little other guys are eating second light, and whatever else they don't want, they send to the Astari down the final. So you don't get an afterlife. Yeah. You get to stay at this weird thing and leave.
Yeah, by weird beings.
Yeah, so weird. Like, it's so trippy. Yeah. So then when they go to that into those rooms, they see, like, the power lines, essentially. Mm-hmm. Like, and I imagine etching in the floor where, like, they're being filled up. And that is the drop, and where they're basically losing some of their magic, too, and their powers. And then... but giving up for their mortality, which they would get either way, but the Astari has essentially tricked them into doing that, as far as we know. And then what? And then what? And then the second too. Yeah, so they're being completely powered, and they're feeding off the immortals' lives. Yeah. Magic.
Yeah, so... they find all that out.
It's crazy. Crazy!
Mm-hmm. It is crazy. And so I think the part that's really interesting about that section is that the Astari are obviously there. Yeah. They're mad that they've infiltrated their area, right? Yeah. So they catch them, as you do. Yeah. But what I think is interesting is that you also have the demon princes...
oh, yeah,
who are part of this. Yeah. So you have the demon princes that are obviously a huge part of this story. And we'll kind of get into some conspiracy theory issues with that later.
Because it's so crazy.
Because it's so crazy. It's so crazy.
So many things.
But it's like, are they helping them? Yeah. Are they thwarting them? Yeah. Like, what's going on with them? They're just kind of over there. And we find out, like, throughout this book that the Astari... were fighting with the demon princes who had allied with the Fae back in the day. Yeah. With something. Was it Thea? Something, yeah. Was that her name? Yeah, Thea, whatever.
And then there was like a few different characters going on there. Yeah. That were like of importance. And then the Star Eater, one of the Astari ate somebody or disappeared, something. There's always a missing Astari, we know that. Well, yeah, who was... so there's like a lot.
Like killed by one of the other Astari, supposedly. Yeah. But I just thought that was really interesting. Or a missing one, right?
But then there's a Star Eater, which is like one of the demon princes, or the Star Eater. So they were able to kill one of them. I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, it's crazy when you realize that, like, perhaps... because, I mean, the demon princes have been helping this whole time, at least on some level with Bryce, right? Yeah. Because you have, what's his name, Adion? Yeah. Yeah, so Adion...
or, no, Adius. Adion is Throne of Glass.
Oh, is in Throne of Glass. Sorry, guys.
Adius. Aidas.
Yeah, Adius. Okay, we'll just say whatever. But he's
Adidas, like the shoe.
He's the one who, like, switches into cat form. Yeah. And has been, like, helping. Yeah. So then you find out, like, okay, well, are these demon princes helping because back in the day, they were the ones teaming up with the Fae to battle the Astari. Yeah. So that's crazy because you're like, wait, it's almost like they had a negative connotation because they're demon princes, but, like, are they bad? Like, what is their motive? Uh-huh. Right? So that's kind of like this whole other crazy thing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And then basically, Bryce ends up opening a portal and shooting off
with her. But they figure out that, the Hunt can power her up with his lightning because he's still unleashed. He can power her up and utilize the horn that's tattooed onto her. Yeah. Well, they also can teleport too. Yeah, they're having that's what I'm saying. A great time together.
Or she can teleport as long as she's been charged up.
No, it's so sad because all of their powers are diluted not only through giving their magic out for the drop into the Astari, but just over time being bred less and less magic.
Yeah.
So they and not being taught how to utilize it.
Yeah.
So yeah, she was able to teleport after Regliss, whatever.
Oh, like chase her down
while yelling how everything is like filling in the blanks of whatever she didn't see. But it's okay because I'm gonna kill you. Yeah. And also it's crazy because he's like a little like teenage boy.
Yeah,
they make it a point to like repeat that over and over.
I know, which I think is interesting.
It's gonna mean something with the crossover that we get to have now. Yeah. It's gonna mean something. And then like it's just so much.
Well, yeah, so she, with her, like, last bit of power,
yeah,
right?
because he doesn't know she can do this yet, or that even she has the horn.
Yeah. Like, Hunt zaps her, right? And she ends up opening the portal to...
thinking she's going to hell to get the help that they offered.
Right, because she wants to go get the demon princes and their armies to, like, come help battle the Astari. Well, she pops out, and we know what's going to happen there.
Yeah.
The mind-blowing ending that none of us could have ever seen coming. But, like, and then Hunt and Rune are essentially left behind.
With the Hind, who is still undercover and has bludgeoned the other girl. But Bryce covered it up and made it look like it was her when they found out the Hind was a part of them.
Kills the Harpy.
Yeah, because the Harpy was about to kill them.
Yeah, covers it up.
Yeah,
Rune
crazy.
and Hunt get left behind.
So sad.
And then I'm like, what else ended up happening? I feel like I'm forgetting stuff. So who are we forgetting? So. Ethan wasn't there.
Like Cormac dies. Therion felt like he had to make a blood oath to the Viper Queen
to get himself out of this betrothal situation with the daughter.
Makes it in the nick of time to get back to water or whatever.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And then Bryce does not land in hell.
No.
As far as we know.
As far as we know.
Hell? We don't know. It's conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
Is she lands in Prithion.
Yeah. Crazy.
It's crazy.
It's like we knew, but like at the same time we didn't know at first, right? And then when like, is it Reese who says
like we're the eggs are or the seeds of our mind are planted like no rabbit trail like breadcrumbs. That's what I'm looking for.
Rabbit trail
of like there's different worlds. Like the Astari was talking about how before they thought they were going to be able to off Bryce, they were talking about how they came from different worlds that they've tried to conquer, and this has been the best one essentially. Well, I mean, when they learned how to breed and like change things around to utilize their benefit.
Well, when she finds all the information in their little lair or whatever you want to call it, it's like says these are all the planets that we have taken over or conquered, but
one of them has kicked him out.
Yeah, one of them kicked him out. Which one is that?
And she lands in Prithion, who has a history. Because I am hoping you've all read it, ACOTAR now, because that'd be such a bummer. That's why I was talking about that so slyly in the beginning for the people that were looking for spoiler free. Just read it to get used to Sarah J. Maas's writing.
It's a good intro.
That's so sad. I know there's people out there that have read Crescent City and is like, why does this matter?
Oh, that would be such a just a different experience.
Yeah,
a completely
I'm sure
different
experience. It takes away from the like epicness that it is when you realize it's all connected.
I know.
Because you think about all the things in ACOTAR that's like, 15,000 years ago.
Yeah.
And then they're like, why are you speaking the language, or what does Amryn say? Like
the ancient language that hasn't been spoken in 15,000 years or whatever.
Which she was alive for. Like,
which makes us think, like,
which is why this book release is so freaking exciting. Because we get to, like, have answers. I'm sure there's going to be stuff that's unanswered. Yeah. But, like, this is crazy. Like, it's so exciting. Yeah. And for anybody that's like, I'm not going to read Crescent City until ACOTAR's done. And it's like, but... Mistake. It just makes it so perfect.
I know.
It's just so well done. Like, everything about that ending was so good. Like, perfect. When she lands, it's almost like you feel like like she lands in the grass. Like, wait, this is hell? Like, I wasn't picturing that. Yeah. And then Asriel's description And then the Star Sword and the Truth Teller, which has been talked about like a missing
being
dagger.
separated for all these years.
It's so exciting. It's like goosebumps.
Yeah.
And then bringing them to Rhysand and Amryn and, you know, figuring out like based off the descriptions alone. So my reaction, because you talked about your reaction earlier, because I told her like, okay, I'm at the end. I'm ready. And, dude, I sent like about 1 billion GIFs when I was done of my reaction, just like freaking out, mind blown, explosion. It's like 2 a.m. I'm freaking. I can't tell my husband. Luckily, you were still awake, binge reading something, because I swear it was like 2 a.m. And you're just like, I know, it's crazy. I know. And then, of course, like I'm struggling sleeping that night, but it's a good thing.
Yeah.
And even the next morning, I remember being at the gym, sending you different conspiracy theories.
Yeah,
like that's when I
crazy.
figured out like the Star Sword, and I'm like, wait, what about this sword that was mentioned? Is it that one that they talked about in the trove that they're looking for? Or like there's a missing trove piece. Is that the horn? Like, is the Star Sword that Bryce calls it, is that the missing sword of whatever the one that they had mentioned a few times in ACOTAR? Which like blows my mind, like as an author, to like plant that many eggs. Yeah. She has to be so organized.
It's insane.
It's so exciting.
So much planning. Yeah.
So much planning. It's so cool and it's so well done.
So
and it's such a fun ride.
I think that would be a good point for us to kind of start talking about the actual like conspiracy theories.
Because that's what you have to start doing.
Yeah, because like how could you not?
Crazy newspaper, red yarn. Like, let's go.
Yeah, especially if you've read like at this point, you know, if you've read Throne of Glass, if you've read ACOTAR, like you're going to be able to make a lot more connections.
Yeah.
So the conspiracy theories that we're going to mention, we're going to try our absolute best to not spoil anything in any other series.
Yeah, we're keeping it pretty. We're just going to do a few points. I think that'll help, because I could go on for days.
Yeah, I mean, and people do.
Yeah.
So, and we might get there later, but after we finish this next book, like.
Yeah.
We want to be able to finish.
We'll do one with Throne of Glass. We'll try to keep Throne of Glass out right now. I'm still finishing Kingdom of Ash. So, we'll try to just do ACOTAR, because I think a lot of people read it in the way that we read it.
Yeah.
That were, like, new to the fantasy. I think the original, like, people that found it started with Throne of Glass, because that was her first series. But, yeah. That's because we don't know, based off of ACOTAR and Crescent City, and even what I've read in Throne of Glass, we don't know that world is connected, but like Sarah J. Maas, at this point, I feel like I know her well enough to know it's all connected, so I'm like freaking out.
Yeah.
No, so looking for clues and stuff. So definitely read Throne of Glass if you're like considering it or not.
If you want to see the whole picture.
It has to be.
It has to be. I mean, I'm glad that I read Throne of Glass when I did, because I buddy read it with Ashley.
It was kind of fun looking at it that way. Like, ooh.
But like, it is weird that I took so long to read it. I wish I would have read it sooner, because then I could have reread it and picked up more, because it's like, I mean, I read KOA in like a few days, like, and I mean, I loved it and I really tried to savor it, but that's just fast for a book that long. Yeah. So, I'll eventually reread it for sure. Yeah. But, okay, so anyways, we digress. So the first theory is obviously, are the Star Sword and Truth Teller connected?
Yeah, I think 100%.
Well, yeah. Of course, but it's like, in what capacity and how?
Yeah, and why? Does it matter?
Does it
and
matter?
how were they separated?
Where did they come from?
Where did they go? Where did they come from? Cotton Eye Joe.
But seriously, guys. Seriously. So, there's that. That's a big one. Yeah. So for me, I think one of the biggest ones is trying to decipher if Throne of Glass is an origin story.
Like, what's the timeline overall here?
Yeah, exactly.
Because, sure, Crescent City is kind of futuristic, but that doesn't mean that another world isn't quite at that level yet, especially if the story are, like, utilizing what they're utilizing. Mm-hmm. Is it the same timeline? Is it the same world? Mm-hmm. Where is the hell? What is it? Is it Prythion? Is it something else?
Right. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Has Prythion just been demonized, literally?
Yeah, well, they say something in there, like, one of the princes say that. Is it, like, what is it? Wow, what was the quote? It just fell out of my head. Like, is that what it is, or it's what you've been told?
Yeah, exactly. Is it just propaganda? But yeah, so I think for me, that's been one of the most fun things, is coming off of reading all of Throne of Glass before getting here. I'm like, to me, it makes sense that Throne of Glass is an origin story from 15,000 years ago. Yeah,
and like we'll go more in depth in that for sure in another one. But Liz like accidentally talked me into, like, what I was, like, adamant that ACOTAR would be first, if that's what's happening. And basically, like, guided me into accidentally changing my mind. Like, I'm talking about, I'm like, no, but so it would be like this. Oh, wait. That totally makes sense. Yeah, and you're just, like, letting it happen because you know my personality. I'm going to be resistant. But, like, and then, yeah, I'm like, oh, okay, now I'm changing my mind. Because I was just going purely off vibes of the book to me. Like, it felt like ACOTAR is, like, Renaissance time. So Tog would be, like, I don't know, later.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I could see it either way. But to me, I feel like it makes sense that Tog is an origin story. And I like thinking about the fact that, like,
now it makes a lot of sense.
All the people who, like, history is just made up, right? So it's like the names of some of the people that are referenced in ACOTAR and Crescent City could literally be people from Throne of Glass. Just, it's been so many thousands of years that it's evolved or changed, or different cultures will interpret it differently. Yeah. And so I think that's what is really interesting.
And there's a lot of languages talked about.
Yes, exactly. That too.
And we're talking about languages in this one. So, yeah.
So that was a big one. My other one is, are Bryce and Hunt really mates? So there's been, like, a lot of debate about this. And Ashley and I talked about it a lot as I was rereading it, because there's a lot of allusions to the fact that angels don't have mates. Yeah. Or, like, not in the way that the Fae have mates. Like, they are just...
kind of like how we as humans talk about them.
Exactly.
Like, you're my mate, you're my lobster, you're my one, you know?
A lot less of, like, a biological connection and, like, more of, just, like, a love thing.
A love connection.
Yeah, a love connection. And so, is it possible that Bryce and Hunt can be mates if angels don't really have mates? Yeah. And, I mean, I'm going to be the first one who wants them to be mates. Yeah. I love them. I don't want Hunt to not be Bryce's mate, but at the same time, when I'm reading it, I'm like, ooh, I don't know. But then, all of the Fae, like, there's a point in time where... Rune says that he can smell that they've become mates. Yeah. So I'm like, okay.
Back and forth. A lot of back and forth feelings.
It does go back and forth. So that's something to me that I feel like keep an eye on. I highlighted a lot of passages that support both sides.
Yeah. So we'll find out in the next book here.
I'm afraid, though. I will say that. I'm afraid.
Yeah, with that said about Hunt, though, something that, like, I don't feel like people talked about enough, and it might have even been in the first book, but we're putting all of our conspiracies right here, is that she mentions that god, Thur,
Thur,
because she is in the archives in the second book. So, yeah, I think, well, no, it's even there's, like, a statue at the ballet, but she, like, sends a picture to Hunt and says, ha, 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 this looks like this is you or your dad or something, and it's like...
There's many
it's the same powers, you know? Yes. So, like, is he the god and who's been, like, wiped out? Because I feel like he had his memory erased at one point. He doesn't know how old he truly is. Or he's told from the Demon Prince or something. The Demon Prince mentions a lot of things about, like...
Well, at one point...
what he's being made for.
They mention that, exactly. That Hunt was made for a specific purpose. Yeah. Okay, so he says that. Another time, they say that he... is really, really old. Not 300 and some odd years old, but, like, super old.
Where she just kind of glosses over it.
Yeah, and I'm like, what do you mean? You just found out your boyfriend's, like, 15,000 years old, but, like, no one's talking about it.
Yeah, and she said, like, I'll think about that later or something, right?
Yeah. I, like, read it to Ashley, because I was like, what do you mean? Like, where are we talking about this? So it's like, we know that he looks exactly like Thur, that he is way older than 300 and whatever years old, and we know that... What was the other thing?
Did they know? Was that when they said, like, this is his form that you know him in or something?
Oh, that he was created for a specific purpose.
He was created for a specific purpose. Yeah. And he may have taken on another form?
I don't know.
No. Am I making that up? Okay.
But there's a lot about Hunt we don't know. I think that is what we're going to find out in this next book.
And it's Sarah J. Maas, so...
She's going to throw the curveballs.
This is the first love interest.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, which is true, but at the same time, it's like, this is book 3. So, and rereading it also, book 1 was very, very, very slow burn. Like, they were not, it's not like they were immediately in love and the whole book was just them being in love. Like that, it wasn't like that. Right. So I feel like on that way, I do give them the benefit of the doubt as far as, like, even though he is the first love interest, like, he kind of really... they might be mates. Ugh. They might not be. I don't know. There, like I said, there's plenty of evidence to support both ideas.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm most interested to see of what happens. Yeah. Especially because if Bryce is Starborn and she carries the Star Sword.
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean about whoever carries the dagger, right?
Yeah, what does it mean? What does it mean?
But yeah, so I feel like those, we'll do, I'm sure, future episodes, conspiracy theory specific that way. Yeah. Those will be for people who have read everything. Write in right
now in the comments, like your conspiracies, because maybe we'll use that for a video. I would love to react to other people's that I haven't even thought about.
That's a good idea.
Leave your conspiracies down in the comments.
That's a great idea.
Because it's going to be awesome. We might not react right now, but we'll save it for another video. Because, oh my gosh.
I'm sure there'll be a few.
I love reading those. Yeah. I had to, stop when I started reading Throat of Glass, so I didn't, accidentally give anything away to myself. Yeah. But, oh gosh, it's so exciting.
I read ACOTAR such a long time ago. I need to reread ACOTAR after I'm finished with this third Crescent City book so that when I can go into the conspiracy theories, fresh-minded.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I just finished Throne of Glass at the beginning of January. Went right into my Crescent City reread. Yeah. Just finished that. I'm on Crescent City 3 right now. We're reading that together. But ACOTAR, it was years and years ago. So I feel like I need to go back and then I'll be able to start really, piecing the red yarns together.
Pretty good. No rush. Gives enough people time to catch up and everything. Yeah. It's always a good time. I'll always talk about ACOTAR and all these books. That's why we turned on the cameras and started creating.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we can talk about it all day.
I know. It's never ending, guys. Never ending. So we're going to wrap it up with our weekly Smash or Pass. So do you want to start or do you want me to start?
I'll start this time.
Okay. I'm excited.
Okay. I think my last one's really good, so it's hard to top this. But all right. Bryaxis. In whatever form. Oh, you're giving a lot of thought here.
I am, because it's been a long time since I've read ACOTAR. And I don't really remember a whole lot about him.
Creepy, under the mountain, smoke monster, essentially.
Yeah, he's the one that was Cassian was afraid of, right?
Yes, I love him.
I say smash.
Yeah, smash.
It tracks.
I know. Give me the weirdest, most obscure thing.
Well, I had to picture it. And then as soon as I started remembering, the thing of nightmares, it's I
don't remember what his form was too later on, but
if Cassian is afraid of him, then it seems like it would be fun.
Okay.
So that's my answer. I'm sticking to it.
All right, sounds good.
Okay. All right. So mine for you was, so I know that you're kind of a little bit of a fan, and so I don't know a whole lot about them, so I'm just going to make it an open-ended question. Smash or pass any of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Okay, so weird. Oh, gosh, it's been a long time, though. It's been a long time, and I never thought of anything that way. A turtle, okay.
If you were a turtle.
Which one would you be into? Smash or pass?
Yeah.
And there's so many different versions and variations.
What comes to mind?
I don't even know all their names, so I think the blue one.
So the answer is yes, and the blue one.
I'm not even consider. Well, I guess I'm assuming I just need to pick one and
smash the blue one
and pass the rest.
Who's the blue one's
you said
name?
If I was a turtle. Right now is who I am. It's always a pass. But as a turtle in a costume, because I'm thinking of the live action one too.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. They're pretty muscular.
Yeah.
Too. And the blue one has an attitude, but not as bad as Raphael, which is
we don't remember the
red
name,
one.
Though?
I think it's Donatello.
I love that.
I think. Don't quote me on it.
If Ashley was a turtle,
which one would
she'd smash the blue one?
Pass the rest. That's what I had assumed was the parameters of this here.
I like it. See, I feel like this is the perfect little exercise to do because it says so much about us. Yeah. It really does.
Yeah. Get to know us a little bit more.
On that note.
Sayonara, suckers. No, make sure you guys, you want to see more of this. I know you do.
We know you do.
Thank you so much for tuning in with us. And make sure to comment, subscribe, share, follow, do a little Irish jig for us.
Yes.
And follow so that you don't miss out on future episodes because we are a hoot. And I'm having a great time and I hope you guys enjoy listening. Also follow us on Instagram at Besties and the Books. podcast. TikTok is just Besties in the Books. We'll be doing some extended content over there. And then you can also join our book club. All the information will be on our Instagram for sure, too. So if you want to join us there, because there's new books every month.
That's what we do.
Yeah, at all the places.
All the places.
You'll get your fill.
Yeah.
It's great. Thank you so much, guys.
Bye.
We'll see you later.